Our special guest today is a prolific voice actor. He's had roles in shows like Bleach, Cowboy Bebop, Digimon, The Melancholy of Haruhi Suzumiya, and games such as Final Fantasy and Magna Carta 2. Also directs ADR and dubbing and stuff like Bleach, Stelvia, and Love Hina. She acts, she directs, she adapts scripts, and with 258 credits right now, she has literally more credits than any other American voice actor in anime has ever had. Let's take a look at a bit of her work on the Wendee Lee DVD.
Hi, good morning. It's almost time for breakfast. I really don't think I'm...
Hey, why don't we grab a bite to eat?
Please, Captain Hunter. As you can see, I'm still on duty.
So what? You can still play hooky, can't you?
I wonder if we'll ever be able to go back to Tokyo. Akala, come on! Which path are we supposed to take? That way? This way? We don't have time to be fooling around! What do you think that I'm... I'm the Hiko Myojin of Tokyo! Why is this door so small? What's going on?
None of your business.
Hey, we're supposed to be a team here, you know? Oh, God, men are such babies. Look at this pile of presents! Wow, this has got to be my day!
There's no such thing as a creature with no emotions. You just think that you don't have them.
Oh, come on, Chica! You have to come more banging if you want to win! I don't feel anything for Kairi. We're just friends, got it? Toto Academy, you now sing the full master of Natsume Goshi style. Maya Natsume. That was all just a dream. A dream that was sweet and sad. A memory of the distant past. But I'm telling you to go home right now. I don't have time to listen to your stupid life stories. Please, Cheetah. I'm 3 years older than you are. Yes, that totally rocks! The SOS Brigade doesn't know the meaning of the word impossible.
One look down and 85,000 to go.
Ladies and gentlemen, Espers and Time Travelers, Wendee Lee. Okay, so this is inside the voice actors studio, so we're going to ask those kind of questions, all right? So let's start out with, by the way, looking at that, we've done a lot of shows together. Wow. Yeah, you'll need to hold the mic. It's just pull it out. It's easier. All right. So basic stuff. And by the way, how are we doing the questions? People line up. Is that what we're doing? Okay. All right. Yeah, when we get to questions, we're going to want you to kind of line up over there, and we'll bring you up one at a time. I'm going to get to a few questions for everybody. So, all right. So let's start with the basics. Where were you born? Where'd you grow up?
I am an LA local native.
You grew up in what part of town?
Always Southern California. I lived in the Bay Area for about 4 or 5 years and finished all my school years here in Los Angeles.
Oh, cool.
Mostly the Valley.
Oh, the Valley. Me too. All right. So, what was the path that got you into voice acting? I mean, you started out as a kid growing up in Southern California. How did you end up in show business and voice acting?
Basically, I was working as an actress. I worked as a child actor a little bit. I was on a path very much in the dance world. I had a dance scholarship, and I was doing some touring with a dance company I was part of. at the same time I was doing a lot of theater, and I was also working a little bit in soaps. I was on Young and Restless for a couple years, off and on. And I had a friend who was a pro sound, live arena sound engineer who was working at a little studio called Intersound in Hollywood, and they had some productions from Harmony Gold coming through, and he kept hearing all the crazy people who lived inside me and said, you really ought to come down and try your hand at this animation stuff. And I flew into the car and said, let's go. And I went to observe an audition for a tiny little show called Robotech. And I think you were there.
Yeah, I think I was in that.
I think you were there, and I was the new kid, and at one point somebody didn't show up for an audition, and there was a big hole in the schedule, and collectively the room turned around and looked at me and said, would you like to try? And I floated into the booth and said, yeah, once I got inside, and tried my hand at it and really didn't understand what was going on, but I just was so eager to give it a shot, and a few weeks later I found out I got a role. Vanessa Leeds, one of the Bridge Bunnies.
Yeah. Now that was your first. So, what did voice acting had it come along quickly after that? I mean, did you start getting jobs right away, or did it take a while to kind of ramp up?
Oh, it definitely took a while. Yeah. I was doing a little more studio singing at the time, and I was familiar with being in a studio, a recording atmosphere, and I quickly found out that was something I wanted to do full-time as much as possible, and I was working with a core group of Hollywood actors, which you were one of my mentors at the time, and many of which we still work with now. Michael McConaughey, well, let's see who else is still around. we had a nice
group. Up there.
Yeah. And so little by little, I started acquiring more and more hours in the studio, and I started volunteering to do more incidental roles and to try my hand at different kinds of parts. And a really instrumental person in my career, Carl Masak, who we just lost, unfortunately. He just picked me sort of out of the chorus and started giving me leading roles. And I was just so blessed and so fortunate, and he really believed in me. And there were some times where I really didn't know if I had a handle on what was happening and if I was really right for the roles, but I just let everybody kind of mold me and guide me, and I felt like every director I worked with was a coach, and at each hour in the studio I felt like I got stronger and more confident, and my skills were improving, and we needed much more skill at that time.
Yeah. Less technology back then, yeah. So were you always the type of person that always had little characters going on in your head?
Constantly. I was the kid throwing my voice across the room in class, and somebody else would get in trouble, and I'd sit innocently and not take the blame.
Your classmates must have loved you.
I was constantly answering questions with different accents and, characters, and I started by doing impersonations and mimicking everybody in my family, and then taking great pride in answering the phone as my mother and carrying on conversations with her dates and so forth, and people believing it was, in fact, her. So
it's a TV movie of that so far. Well, you have, like I said, you have 258 credits. I checked last night, so that makes you the most prolific anime voice actor on the planet right now. Yeah. And you've been online, and many articles you were